Crystal Kirchen, psychic medium, and I have 4 questions that I am usually asked by email. I decided to pick these 4 questions because I think they better tell you who I am as a person. So, 1, it's who am I? I am Crystal Kirchen, formerly known as Crystal Jordan. I have grown up and have been raised generally in Charlotte my whole entire life. I've lived in different areas in Saginaw for about a year and a half. But generally I've lived in Charlotte my whole life. Charlotte, Michigan is a small town and everybody knows everybody here. I love it. It's beautiful. It's a fun town to live in, especially if you have children. So that's kind of me, where I came from, what my name is. I guess that's it. How did I become a medium, and did I know right off the bat? Like, growing up, did I know I was a medium? No. I'm actually going to reverse that question because I kind of want to answer, did I know from the beginning? No, I didn't. And if any of you ever read my website stuff on my bio, it tells in specifics. I had absolutely no clue. I just knew that I could see spirit. I could hear them sometimes, but generally it wasn't them talking to me. I could see them standing there, but I couldn't actually hear what they were saying. It was more of chatter that I heard, constant chatter, especially in busy places. I would hear all sorts of stuff at night. As a kid, I would sleep by my door with my bedroom door open, and the lights were on in the living room because people were still awake, and that was the only way that I could go to sleep for the longest time. And it's because I always saw stuff. I didn't see spirit like in my third eye the way I do now. I didn't see them like that. I always saw them as people. It was almost like they were people standing in front of me, and that terrified me for the longest time. My first very memorable experience was the one that I kind of go into a little bit of detail on my website, and that is about the 2 little girls that were in my bedroom, and that was probably the first terrifying experience I had. Before then, I think I was about 3, and I had a friend that was a little ghost girl in these apartments that my mom lived in Potterville, and I actually just thought she was a friend. I didn't think of her as anything scary because that's how she came to me, and one day I got mad at her because she told me to try to open up a Pepsi bottle, one of the old glass bottles. She told me to open up a Pepsi bottle with a fork instead of a pop bottle opener. And I scraped up my fist really, really bad because I was really trying to pry open that Pepsi, and instead I ended up scraping up my fist, and I got in trouble because I mangled up my hands and tried to open Pepsi bottles when I wasn't supposed to be. So I ended up getting in trouble, and I told her I didn't want to play with her anymore. But the only other one that I remember being something that was scary as a child is that one. Other than that, it was just like they would be there, they would be gone. It was nothing really crazy until I was a teenager. As a teenager, I started seeing a lot more things. I remember as a kid, I would be on the playground and I would swear up and down I saw people on the playground, and everybody thought it was lying. And that was one of those things that I was just like, I'm not a liar. I would get so mad, I'm not a liar. But around 9 years old, I was like 9 and a half, almost 10, my cousin Scott, who all of you have probably heard of at one point in time, had taken his own life. And when he took his own life, that was when this kind of turned. And instead of me pushing spirit away, I wanted to gather them closer because I really wanted that communication with my cousin. He was like a brother to me. He wasn't like a cousin to me. So I remember every night I would beg God to bring him back, and I would beg Scott to come and visit me, and years would go and I wouldn't see him, feel him, nothing. And I remember being so angry because I could see all these other spirits, but I couldn't communicate with my own cousin, and I didn't understand why that was. So eventually it got to the point, and I was, I think, 17 when this happened, but I had, once again, before I went to bed, I was babysitting my aunt's birds at her house while her and her husband decided to go on a vacation. And as they were gone, I went and I laid down to go to sleep. I did my prayers, and then I was like, okay, Scott, one more time. I want you to come and visit me, please. Well, that night he did visit me, and it scared the crap out of me. I always had this put my head underneath the covers type reaction when I saw spirit, because they weren't supposed to be standing there, and it scared me. After that, I kind of figured that that's just not something I was supposed to be doing. So I was around 19 years old when I said, I don't really want to see this anymore. There's no reason. They're not talking to me. They're not communicating with me. They're just standing there looking at me. They're looking around corners. I see them in passing. There's no reason for them to scare me. So God, take it away. And for the longest time, I didn't see spirit at all. I kind of would see them in shadow form, and I never got a bad feeling. People talk about shadow people. That's never what it was. I could always differentiate between whether or not this shadow figure was male, female, if it was mean, if it had good intentions, bad intentions. They just didn't bug me. They were just shadows. So that was okay. It wasn't until my mid-20s that I started seeing spirit again, and it actually started when my ex-husband and I moved into our house. And he was at work, the kids were asleep, and I was sitting there, and I had finally gotten everything taken care of, and I was sitting on my couch, I lit my candles, and I turned on the TV, and all of a sudden I heard, "Mom," and I turned around, and there was this adorable little blonde-haired boy standing in the middle of my kitchen. And I called my mom, and I was like, "Ugh, you're never going to guess what I just saw." So it started from there, and it kind of got a little bit more. I do, however, remember many times growing up, I would watch John Edwards. He was the big one when I was growing up, John Edwards and Sylvia Brown and all those people. And I was like, I've seen spirit my whole entire life. If they would talk to me like that, this would be the coolest job in the world. I would love to do that as a job. Little did I know that that was my purpose in life, and it would lead me here. So that kind of goes back to my other question with the same one. So no, one, I did not know that I was a medium my whole life. I kind of pushed spirit away for a very long time because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to communicate. So that wasn't something I actually wanted at that point in time. I wasn't ready. How did I become a medium is pretty much the same thing along the lines of spirit scaring the crap out of me. My husband and my son and I went to a tour of the original Jackson prison. If any of you have been there, you know it doesn't look like a prison anymore. All of everything has pretty much been taken out. There's no cells, nothing like that. I got touched upstairs in where the cells used to be. And I looked at my husband and I was like, I was just touched. And he kind of looked at me like I was crazy. He knew I saw spirit, but I don't think he believed me. He thought I was crazy, just like everybody else. And that's okay, because I completely own that craziness now. But anyway, I went to walk down into solitary confinement, and it was almost like there was an invisible door that was shut, and I couldn't enter into the door. I kept looking at everybody, and they were looking at me, and they could tell that I was physically having problems. I felt really anxious. I was sweating. My palms were sweaty. I felt dizzy. I felt sick. There was just so many different feelings, and it was like I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this opening as everybody's going down, and Adam is turning around and he looked at me and he's like, "Come on." And I just looked at him and I was like, I just can't go in there. And he was like, "What do you mean you can't go in there?" I said, "I don't know. I can't walk through that doorway." So he was like, "Okay, I'm going to go downstairs. You can meet us down here." And I was like, "Okay." So it took me a few minutes to stand there in the doorway, and finally I convinced myself to walk through. I took a deep breath, I let it out, and I walked through the doorway. And as I was going down the steps, there's a stairway that went down this way, and then you turn to the left a little bit and you keep going down, and then there's the landing. If you've ever been to the Jackson prison, it's not very big, it's solitary, but it was big enough for our group of people, of probably 30 people, to be in this opening. So I kind of felt maybe I was anxious because I had always considered myself claustrophobic. I didn't like to be in spaces with other people. Going to the grocery store I couldn't go to the grocery store. I couldn't be around people without being ill. So I got down there, and all of a sudden I got really dizzy and I leaned up against the wall. As soon as I leaned up against the wall, it was pretty much all downhill from there. I got dizzy. I started seeing in tunnel vision, and the people that were talking, they sounded muffled, but I couldn't really hear what they were saying, and it felt almost like it was a vacuum seal. There was tons of pressure in the room, in that area. And that, I still to this day can't even tell you what my emotions were at the time because everything happened so fast. But at that moment in time, I just blacked out. I remember Adam grabbing my arm and telling me I needed to go upstairs, but I don't remember how I got up there. I know I did because the next thing I know, I'm sitting upstairs at a bench, sobbing uncontrollably, and one of the tour guides was with me, and she kept looking at me like, what the hell just happened to you, lady? And I'm looking at her just sobbing, and I couldn't even breathe. It was one of those deep, heavy cries that you can't breathe, you can't talk, you just are crying, and you don't know why. And she looked at me and she asked me if I was a sensitive. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, sensitive to what? I'm not sensitive to anything. There's nothing sensitive about me, but that place sucks. And she was like, well, we've had mediums go down there before, and that's the same reaction they get. So, at that moment in time, I was kind of like, she asked me what I felt, and I told her I can't explain it. Still to this day, I can't explain what I felt because there was not one emotion that I could pinpoint. It was almost like I was being hit all over my whole entire body by every emotion that could ever be felt in anybody's being all at once. Sadness, fear, anxiety, depression, everything hit me at once. And that was so scary to me that had happened, that I came home, and on the way home in the drive on the car, I looked at Adam and I said, okay, when we get home, I'm contacting a spiritual advisor because something's wrong with me and I don't know what it is. This is stuff that's been going on my entire life, never to this extent, but I can't take this anymore. I need to figure out what it is. And if it's not something that a spiritual advisor can help me with, then I need to see a doctor. But I know that if I go and I see a family physician, I'm going to be put on medications. I'm going to be told that I have psychosis. And I'm probably going to be put in a straitjacket and maybe sent to a mental institution for some observatory time. I was a medical assistant before this. I know exactly how people get treated when they talk about stuff like this. So I know it's not something that doctors really will go for. That's kind of like, okay, you're seeing things, so now you're a paranoid schizophrenic. That's how they think of things. But it scared me so much that I knew at that moment in time I had to contact somebody. So I got home and I got right on the computer. I started Googling people in our area. I sent out, I don't even know how many emails I sent out. I sent out many emails. But the only person that contacted me back was Pat Longo. And for any of you who know who Teresa Caputo is, you know who Pat Longo is because she's awesome and she's been on the show. She's amazing. And she is the one that sent something back to me. I think within a day, she sent something back to me and she said, Crystal, you're not crazy. You are an empath. That means you take on other people's things, but I will, contact you, we'll set up an appointment, and we will go from there. I set up my appointment with her and found out that day that I'm an empathic psychic medium. At that point in my life, I was not ready to start speaking to spirit because there were many things that I had to let go of in my past to get to where I am today. I can sit here proudly today and say that I have done so many things to change my life and become the person that I am. I'm very proud of the person I am today versus the person I was when I contacted Pat to begin with. And I don't care who you are, if you meet her ever. I mean, every person on this world, through my eyes, should have a moment in time where they get to meet Pat, because she to me is an angel on earth. She's helped me so much. She will probably never completely understand just how grateful I am to her being in my life. Which goes to my next question, which is, were you always so positive? No, I was not always so positive. And anybody who is watching this right now who knows Crystal Jordan versus Crystal Kirchen is going to think I am a fake or a fraud probably, because this is not who I was. I was not positive. I was just like so many others of you out there who were very negative people. I took every situation in life that had happened to me, family being pushed down, working with my confidence, people being mean. I took everything as a direct attack to me. And so what I would do is I would attack back. I'm not proud to say that I was that person, but I was, and it's shaped me into who I am today. You guys hear me talk all the time about negativity and how to let it go. And I get emails all the time telling me how hard it is to just let it go. I will never tell you it's not hard, but if you want it bad enough, you will do it because you're doing it for yourself. And that's the important thing. I literally woke up one day and said, I'm done. I'm done feeling bad because of this. I'm done feeling like crap because of this. I am done looking at myself saying you're fat and you're ugly, because I'm not. I'm beautiful. I may be overweight, but that doesn't define me as a person. What defines me as a person is my soul, my inner light that shines, and how many people I can touch with this gift that I've been given. That is what defines me as a person. I no longer allow anything from my past to bug me at all. As a matter of fact, if something else comes along, I take it as what it is. It's a lesson meant to be learned. It might not be a great lesson, but every lesson to me is beautiful in some way. It doesn't matter how bad it is. It's a lesson to be learned, and what we are supposed to do with it, we are supposed to take it as that, move on, and go forward. That's it. You don't hang on to it. You forgive when you're supposed to. You forget it happened and move along, because that's all that counts. Tomorrow counts, not yesterday. Yesterday is who you were in your past. Today is who you are in your future. So that's kind of how I look at things. Yes, I've not been so nice to many people, and I know that I will never lie about my past because I don't want it to come back to haunt me. I will never sit there and say I was a great person, I was so nice. No, I wasn't. I was very mean to people, and for no reason. To me, it's looking back, I kind of think maybe that's why I am where I am. Because if anybody can step into the shoes of somebody else that I used to be, it's going to be me. I know where I was. I know the negativity that I carried. I know the person that I used to be. And I'm not going to let that change who I am today. I'm not going to hold any, I'm not going to hold anything from that. I've said I'm sorry. I really feel guilty for what I did, and then I moved on, and now I'm okay. I'm free of that. So for any of you that are knowing or feeling like you should just be able to take that step and move forward and become a better person, that's really all it takes, is determination on your part to change inside and out and just let the bad stuff go. And that's the only thing I can say when it comes to that. And my last question is, how do I get my messages? A lot of people ask me this because all mediums, we all do we all talk to dead people, we all talk to spirit, but it's how we get our messages, those things are different. And I get my messages many different ways. It seems to be always changing for me, and it's a little bit crazy because sometimes it's almost like I will be doing a reading for somebody and then all of a sudden things change and I'm getting it differently. It started out as movie clips, and those movie clips would be parts of people's lives that I would see, and they would be like memories that people had in the past, but they would be little clips and pieces the spirit would show me so I could see what it was, and then I would tell the person, this is what they're showing me. They also give me feelings. That's part of me being empathic, and during those feelings I feel like that's something spirit shares with me, so I might be able to take a glimpse into their lives. They will either show me how they felt at the time or how my client sitter felt at the time. And from there, I can kind of step into their shoes a little bit. I can never put myself in their shoes completely, but I might be able to see where they were coming from at that moment in time. And they do that to better help. And they also talk to me. Spirit talks to me quite often, actually, and I love it. I have started seeing things a little bit differently, where I will actually be spirit. It's almost like I'm seeing out of their eyes. So if they're driving down the road somewhere, I will be driving down the road. And I can see the road, I can see the inside of the vehicle, I can see outside, I can see my hands, wedding rings, stuff like that. It's almost like I'm doing what they're doing. And that to me is probably one of the coolest ways that they've communicated with me so far. I love that because it's easier for me I'm a very visual person. It's very easy for me to say, oh, okay, this makes sense to me. I kind of have a room, I guess you would say, that everybody in the spirit world gathers in before a client comes to get a reading. And in that room, I have a light. My guides and I, we kind of call it my spirit interrogation light. And what it is, it's one light in a room. And the spirit that wishes to come forward and communicate with me at that very moment in time will step into my light. Sometimes, if they're strong enough, if they want me to be able to see them, whatever, I will be able to see them fully. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes I can only see bits and pieces of them. They show me what they want me to see. I don't control their messages. I have no clue what they're going to say. Sometimes they say the craziest things. They bring up things that we're just like, holy cow, are you kidding me? Why did you say that? It's not my deal. It's not my business. What they say to you during the session is between you and spirit, and I'm just the middleman. I am literally the vessel that they can come through for. And that's pretty much it. If you guys have any more questions, go ahead and you can send me a message. You can ask me the questions that you want to ask me, or you can leave comments or do whatever. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this little itty bitty video. It's very uncomfortable for me to be able to sit here and speak to a camera about myself for this long of a period of time, but hopefully you guys got something out of it, and maybe you'll start getting to know me a little bit more as a medium. Other than that, see you later. Love and light to every single one of you out there. Have a beautiful night. Talk to you later.